Shares of Eli Lilly popping in the last hour after a panel of advisors to the Food and Drug Administration voted unanimously that Eli Lilly's Alzheimer's drug is effective and that they support broad use of the drug in early stages of the disease. Also, that the risks are outweighed by the benefits. The panel also voting unanimously on that scenario. FDA approval of Lilly's drug would make it the second drug on the market to treat Alzheimer's, part of this new class of drugs. Joining us now to discuss is former FDA Commissioner Dr. Scott Gottlieb. Dr. Gottlieb, it's great to have you on the show, and I want to start right there. I mean, it's not an approval because the FDA still has to weigh in itself, but we also know when this panel of outside advisors makes decisions such as this, it tends to be very telling for the next steps for said drug. How much of a breakthrough is it to see these drugs, in the case of Lilly potentially, come to market right now?
Look, I think this is an important development for patients. This drug does have certain advantages over the other drug that's on the market, the similar drug from Biogen, Leqembi. It can be dosed once a month as opposed to Biogen's drug, which needs to be dosed twice a month. It does appear potentially to be more efficacious as well. But I think we're still in the early innings when it comes to treating Alzheimer's. These are significant breakthroughs. They're certainly going to benefit certain patients. But there's other drugs in development right now that look to be potentially even more effective, including follow-on formulations of these drugs. Biogen's working on a subcutaneous formulation of its drug. Lilly's also working on a second-generation drug that also looks like it could be delivered subcutaneously. We're going to have data on both of those in 2025. And so if you can move these drugs out of this setting, out of a hospitalized setting where they need to be given under medical supervision, into a home-based setting where they can be delivered subcutaneously, that's going to probably broaden utilization. And then there's other drugs in development, including drugs that target other modalities believed to be implicated in Alzheimer's disease, such as tau protein formation. And we're going to have data from phase 2 studies on those drugs in 2025. So we're in a very exciting period right now where a disease that's long eluded our ability to target it effectively with drugs is finally coming into focus. What's so significant to me is the fact that, to the point you just made, Alzheimer's has been typically treated very not well. and usually when the disease is already in later stages for the people that are affected by it, what does this enable? What needs to happen to see earlier treatment that could actually prevent or even stall the disease more formidably? Yeah, historically, we've seen drugs for Alzheimer's, but they treated the symptoms. They treated some of the effects of the cognitive decline that we saw in patients, but they didn't treat the underlying cause of the disease. And what we're seeing right now with this drug and others that are in development is the ability to target the underlying biology of the disease and prevent progression of the disease. I think ultimately we need to find ways to try to move these drugs earlier, and that's going to require different approval mechanisms at the FDA, because by the time that patients have the late-stage manifestations of the disease and they register declines on the cognitive tests that are used as clinical trial endpoints for these drugs, a lot of the damage has been done. It's hard to reverse those effects. You can slow those effects. These drugs show some benefit in reversing the effects, but a lot of the damage has been done. Patients have had a lot of functional decline, so you want to treat them earlier. That's going to require us to come up with better measures of disease activity, such as PET imaging or biomarkers that you can measure in the blood, where you can diagnose patients earlier before they've had that cognitive decline and intervene to prevent that from happening. We put out a guidance in 2018 when I was at FDA that opened up a pathway for doing that, that opened up a path for approving these drugs under accelerated approval after they demonstrated benefits against surrogate measures of disease activity, like changes on PET imaging or biomarkers like amyloid plaque formation. I think you're going to see more companies start to make use of that pathway and try to move these drugs earlier in the setting of disease.
Dr. Gottlieb, of course, the health implications are most important, but I got to ask a business and financial question. You point out that the category of Alzheimer's drugs isn't that big. Biogen's drug is doing about $30 to $40 million a quarter. Lilly right now has close to $1 trillion market cap based on bigger hopes for other products. So I wonder, historically, is there an innovation brand halo that companies get from having something innovative like this? Am I more likely, you think, to buy GLP-1s that are Lilly branded because they've shown themselves to be innovative, perhaps in Alzheimer's drugs?
Yeah, perhaps. And if you look at the pipelines, these companies have other things in development. I don't think that we should confuse what's happening with this particular category of drugs with the overall potential of drugs that treat Alzheimer's disease. If you look at the drugs that J&J has in development targeting tau proteins, they're going to have phase 2 data in 2025 again. They said that could be upwards of a $5 billion a year drug. Biogen has referred to their similar drug that also targets tau through a different mechanism as the crown jewel of the organization. So I think companies do recognize that this could be a very big category. We're going to ultimately need better therapeutics that could be delivered more easily, that don't have some of the side effects of these drugs. And remember, Medicare waged a pretty broad campaign to deny coverage for these drugs that target amyloid plaque formation back in 2021. And I think that really cast a cloud over the entire category and soured some physicians. And I think the drugs have had a hard time coming out from under that cloud. So they're still living that legacy.